Hi, welcome back to another video. Today I wanted to talk about how I went about collecting reliable and verifiable sources to build my water cycle diagram. On screen is my citations list, and as you can tell, each item in this list corresponds directly to a text box or an arrow in my water cycle diagram. My mentors, Dr. Kasturi, Mr. Prem, and Dr. Pal, really helped me with distinguishing between these credible versus not so credible sources and also helping me find these reliable sources. For example, in my first version of the citations document, it consisted almost entirely of news articles and blog posts. And while these may provide some valuable insights, when compared to, say, a peer reviewed journal, they probably aren't the most credible sources for extensive research. So, in the next draft of my citations list, I entirely revised it. I differentiated my sources into primary sources and secondary sources. Primary sources are the first hand accounts of events, and secondary sources are interpretations of primary sources. And so I obtained my primary sources from BMC websites and also from my building, whereas I obtained my secondary sources from online databases such as JSTOR and Google Scholar. In the case of Google Scholar, I typed in some keywords based on what I was looking for. Here it's water supply. And then I use quotations if I'm looking for the exact word, and the asterisks if I'm looking for related words in the title of the article. I also use some Boolean operators such as and or for advanced searches based on my needs. And on the left here, you can see that you can sort the articles based on the date that they were published. So I evaluated the credibility of my sources by first looking at the number of times it's been cited on Google Scholar. Then if I click on this article, it takes me to an article from the journal BMC Public Health. And here it tells me that it's an open access and peer reviewed journal. It's really important that the articles are peer reviewed and not white papers, because peer review acts as a filter and ensures that what's being published is accurate and reliable information. So here you can also take a look at the reference list, and it's pretty extensive, indicating that the article is probably pretty credible. Also, you can look at the author affiliations and see whether or not they have any competing interests. So that's it for my secondary sources. I felt that they provided a better big picture view, but when it came down to the nitty-gritties of Mumbai's water supply system or specific values that I was looking for, my primary sources were far more helpful. I found that there wasn't a lot of information available online about my building's water supply system in particular, and I really wanted to learn more about it. So, what I decided to do was go downstairs and meet with my building's technical head and also investigate my building's STP plant. It was perhaps one of the most exciting experiences in this entire project, and I picked up a lot of information that I didn't have previously, such as how my building uses a hydropneumatic system and has to use electric pumps to transport water to each household because we have an underground tank instead of an overhead one. As I investigated my building's STP plant, I also learned about how we recycle grey water, that is, water from washing machines and kitchens, etc., and use it for flushing. And it was a really exciting experience because I was getting to investigate aspects of my building's water supply system that had such a tangible impact on mine and my community's lives. As I visited different parts of my building, I took pictures of the different parts of the water supply system and eventually collated them into the supplementary information annexure that you see on screen. It includes the hydropneumatic pumps as well as the rainwater harvesting pipes and the STP plant. And then I created a schematic diagram that shows the exact role of each image in the larger system of my building's water supply. Another form of primary sources that I heavily referenced were official BMC documents, including electronic tenders, action plans, environmental status reports, and even tweets from the official BMC account. So this is the BMC website, and I'm entering my search query into the search box in the top left corner. As you can see, I'm trying to be really specific about my keywords because it yields better results. I choose this document, and now hypothetically within it I'm looking for a very specific value for a volume of water. So what I do is I use the find function and I enter MLD, which stands for millions of liters per day. And when I enter it, it yields all the volumes of water or all values that are present within the document. My mentors and I went source by source, evaluating every single citation on this list, and for me, that was a pretty illuminating experience because it made me think very analytically about what I'm reading and to really critically evaluate whether or not a source was credible. It made me take into account factors such as author credibility, author bias, year of publication, etc. And as I began reading up on more and more existing literature, I realized that there are a lot of gaps, and that's what pushed me to go collect my own primary data. And overall, by reading up on existing literature, collecting my own primary data, I've picked up a lot of interesting information, whether or not directly related to my water supply diagram. And overall, it's been really rewarding for me to see my citations list evolve into what it is now and gain all the information that I have.